Today we are crafting some fall home decor on a budget using items that you can find at the Dollar Tree, Dollar General, Hobby Lobby, other craft stores. We are going to be using some stencils. You don't need any fancy tools, any fancy supplies. Let's get started. I have been intentionally crafting my stash, working through what I already have. And this sign is one I picked up from Dollar Tree. After season, sometimes I do mark stuff down, and I've had it in my stash for at least 2 years. And so I'm going to start by just taking off the jute cord hanger. I cut it off near the knot because I'm actually going to reuse that same piece. So I didn't want to I wanted to cut off as little of it as possible. And then I'm just using my heat gun to warm up the glue underneath of this metal piece and just using a scraper tool to gently pull that off. I was able to do this in a way that I will be able to reuse it if I want, although I don't know that I will need to be doing that, but just wanted to show you this is a way often you can get the pieces off in case you want to reuse them in the future. Now, I really like to take the paper off my signs before I get started, and I think I've showed this to you before. Well, I know I have, but this might be your first time on my channel, so I just wanted to show you real quick. I just spray it with some water, let it soak with some paper towels, and scrape it, and you may have to repeat this a couple of times to get it all off. You can, of course, use a sander, but it's a little warm out, and I didn't feel like going outside. Also, when you're using these MDF board signs, you just have to be careful when using a sander so that you don't go too crazy, unless, of course, you're just doing it by hand. So I'm going to do this a couple of times, and you're going to see I get this board completely clean. You'd never know that there was anything already on it. If you have a sign that you're going to make over and you don't want to go through all of this, by all means, just paint over it, put some paper over it, or just flip it over and use the back side. That's also okay. As you can see, I was able to get it pretty clean here. There's a little bit of watermarks around the edge. I did dry it with my heat gun. I don't know if that just I don't know if it stained it or if it was just a little wet inside, but it did not come through with the paint at all. I'm going to give this a good coat of brown paint. I am using Truffle by Waverly. I think it is a really pretty color to go with other fall colors and tones. I think I did end up giving this 2 coats. Not really did it need that, but there's a couple spots, so I ended up doing 2 coats so it was even all the way across. I wanted to embrace the little, you can see how this board is uneven. It's because originally it was supposed to look like wooden planks. So I decided to go with that, and I'm just using a straight edge, and I'm using a permanent marker but with a fine tip, and I'm not pressing overly hard, and I'm just making a couple little lines so that it looks like some wood boards. So these stencils I got from the Dollar General, and as you can see, $1, 2 stencils, really good size stencils, very nice. Compared to these from Hobby Lobby, I also have a couple sets of these, $1.99 for 2 stencils, but you figure the seasonal stuff is usually about 50% off. So either place is a good price, whether it's Dollar General or Hobby Lobby, and I've seen them for different seasons. I have not picked up any this year, but most of Dollar General stuff is still the same price that it was in the past. Theirs have not seemed to gone up. Same thing with Hobby Lobby. So I'm going to be using this truck stencil, and I'm just covering up the portions that I'm not planning to stencil. There was a couple little embellishment or leaves or whatever, and so I'm just covering them with a paper. And I did just use a little bit of painter's tape to hold the stencil in place so it would not move on me, but I'm just kind of also holding it down as I go. All of these little lines in the stencil, if you're going too quickly or have too much paint, you're definitely going to get some paint underneath them. I'm going fast here because, well, I sped this up. That is the magic of editing. So make sure you don't have too much paint on your stencil, and just take your time. I don't let it fully dry before I do a second coat, but I do go back over a couple places. As it starts drying, I can kind of see that I want it to be a little bit darker, I guess. So I just did the whole truck white. I didn't worry about the tires and all that, just did the whole truck white. And then the pumpkins in the back I did in orange, which is Pumpkin by Waverly is the color I'm using. Once again, just using a piece of paper to kind of cover up places so that I don't get any paint or I'm not intending for it to go. All right, let's see how I did here. I pull off the stencil and I did pretty good. There's a couple little white marks, touch it up with a little bit of brown paint, and we were good to go. I'm gonna use the cotton ribbon here. This is from burlap.com. I will try to remember to link it for you. And I'm making a very simple bow. I made 2 loops on each side, just kind of folded it back and forth, making sure I got it even here in the middle. And we're just gonna tie it off with a little piece of scrap, something that was in my scraps. Jute twine would work. And we're going to work on some embellishments for the top of this sign. If you don't want to put the hanger back on, you could have filled in the holes with some spackling and painted over it, but I'm going to make mine a hanging sign again anyway. So put the rope back in, and then we are going to hot glue our bow on. This looks a little chintzy here, but we're going to bulk it up. We are going to add some stuff here. So I say keep your scraps. If you want to DIY on a budget, don't throw anything out. Although that's you also don't want to become a hoarder. I know it's a fine line. All crafters, I think, struggle with that. So I just have some flowers that were in my stash that were probably from Dollar Tree back in the day, perhaps from Walmart, but probably from Dollar Tree. And I'm just kind of playing with them to see what I think looks good. I'm going to put a couple of flowers on each side underneath my bow, just kind of adding little bits and pieces. I do, and I've said this before, but I do think that when you are embellishing and doing things like this, that if you add multiple textures, multiple layers, it makes it look a little bit more high-end, a little bit more store-bought. And I like that, but you do you. So I'm just cutting apart a couple different picks I had. I had some flowers, and then I had a pick that had various things on it, including these leaves, trimming them down and just hot gluing them, tucking them, and just kind of layering them, getting the desired look. There was a couple little fake sticks that were on a pick, and we're just going to keep going and going with it. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Leanne. I enjoy sharing budget-friendly DIYs on this channel, and if you're into that kind of thing, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. Make sure you would turn on the notification bell as well so that you don't miss out on my future videos. I would love to have you a part of my little YouTube family. I wanted one more thing for this, and so I pulled a little tiny pine cone out of my just decor stash and needed to make it smaller. I tried cutting it with scissors, but that didn't work. So I used my wire cutters here and just cut off the bottom of it. And we're gonna hot glue this onto the center of my bow. I did end up adding some little berries from another pick that I had that I just didn't show you me adding them on around the pine cone, and I love how this piece came out. Please let me know what you think about it down below, and let me know, what do you think about stencils? Do you like them? Hate them? Kind of in between? Never used them? Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Some DIYs in this video are going to be a little bit quicker than others, and this is going to be one of those. I had this mini tiny cutting board that was in my stash. At some point I think was used. I sanded it down, and so the edges are white. We're just going to paint Pumpkin by Waverly on the front and the back of this little cutting board. Some DIYs don't need to be complicated. I mean, none of them really have to. Sometimes it's fun to do lots of little details, and sometimes it doesn't take much to make a cute piece. These self-adhesive stencils from the Dollar Tree, I've shared them before. I have mixed feelings about them. They can be reused if you take them off and clean them carefully. Sometimes I just throw them out, just kind of depends on what I feel like doing with them. You do get several in a pack, so it still is a pretty good deal. I didn't want to use all of the stencil here because I didn't want to use the entire saying. So I'm just covering up with a piece of paper, that which I don't want to use. And this little piece just takes us some paint and a stencil, and I will do a little embellishment. As I said, this was a self-adhesive stencil, and you can see that the stencil pulled off some of the paint. So I just was like, well, I can touch it up or I can just pull off some more paint. And that's what I decided to do. I believe the paint was dry but not fully set, and that is why the adhesive pulled it up, because I did not have that problem on all the projects. I also had this little wooden sticker pumpkin in my stash. I don't know where it was from. I think it was from Dollar Tree a long time ago, and the color didn't match, so I went over it with Truffle by Waverly and added that to the top of my little cutting board. Let me know what you guys think about this. This would be a great piece for a tiered tray or something along those lines. But yeah, simple, easy, but still adorable. All right, so this sign I picked up super cheap from the Dollar General. I don't even remember how much it was, but I didn't pay much for it. I love going to Dollar General, and whether it's seasonal clearance or just their random sales, I believe this was when they had a bunch of stuff, buy one, get one free, and I bought a bunch of things and spent very little on them. I love this, and I do look for this when I'm going to DIY something. How easy is it to either take apart or to paint? And I was able to take that out really easy. I could change it up because it's just kind of like a picture frame with no glass. So I pulled everything out, and then I'm just giving this frame a very light gentle sanding because it is more of a plasticky material, but I thought by sanding it, it would make it easier for my paint to stick to it. I'm going to go in with Ink by Waverly, which is just a black paint, and I'm going to paint all parts of the frame that are going to be seen from the front. So the outside, the top, and then a thin inside piece that would be seen from the front. And I'm going to give this, it really just took one good coat. If you're enjoying this video, it would help me out so much if you just gave this video a thumbs up. I know not everyone can leave a comment if you're watching like from a TV, but everybody can give it a like, give it a thumbs up. It will help me out a lot. It's very simple, and it just lets YouTube know that people like my video, and then they're more likely to share it with others. So don't hold back, give it a thumbs up, just do it now, because you've already seen enough of this video to know that you like it. If you didn't like it, you wouldn't still be here. Okay, moving on. I did decide to put some Mod Podge on this as well so that the paint didn't chip off. I do that a lot. Sometimes it might be necessary, sometimes not, but I do it. So we got that all sealed in. Now let's get to the heart of this project. And I just took the sign, I think it was a laundry sign, and I flipped it over, and I'm just going to give this piece a good coat of Mod Podge. We're going to do, I think I do the iron-on method here. When you're using MDF, the Mod Podge will just kind of like soak right in there. So put a good healthy coat, let it dry. As you can see, it's not fully dry, but it's good enough. And I'm using some scrap paper that I picked up on sale from Hobby Lobby. Place down a piece of parchment paper and going over this with my iron. I'm using a mini heat press, but you can feel free to use your iron, your household iron if you have one of those. Just make sure there's no steam and don't do too high of a temperature. And then iron that, and it will reactivate the Mod Podge, and you will have a wrinkle-free attachment to your project. And then I trimmed it down with my scissors, which for this project it may have been enough, but I did decide to go in with my finger sander to get off any excess paper. Just make sure that you go away from the paper. You don't want to lift up on the paper, and that will just kind of get off any excess. And I do like to go in one more time. Oh no, I know what it was. There was actually a little bit of a wrinkle, so I went back with my iron and smoothed it out, and I got the rest of the wrinkle out. This here, this is another piece I picked up from Dollar General. It was originally $1, and I think I paid like 10 cents for it. So we're gonna redo this piece here because this is not a sign for the bathroom. I am going to gently untie this little leather strap, the hanging piece, because we'll use that someday at some point. I flipped this over. There was no need for me to do anything to the other side because we are going to attach this to the frame, and so you won't be able to see it. So we're just going to use the Fresh and Clean backside and give this a good coat of black paint. I'm using Ink by Waverly, and I did make sure to get the edges. I would have been fine with the edges being left plain, but sometimes it's just hard to keep paint off of it, and so it's easier to just paint them. So one coat of paint is would have been all it took, but for some reason this was looking a little uneven here. So when it dried, I gently sanded it down with a very light sanding and then did another coat because for some reason it just wasn't looking super even. I'm not sure what that was about. I think I might have just got the paint too like heavy in one spot. I don't know. We have some more stencils from the Dollar Tree, and as you can see, this one came in 3 in a pack. Gently taking this off. As I've said, all of the little details in this can make the stencils a little bit finicky. You have to be very careful with them, but they are also sturdy. I've never torn one, and sometimes you feel like you're going to tear one when you lift it up, and they are pretty sturdy. But this is a great option. I do not have a cutting machine, and I do not have like chalk couture, and I think all of those things are great. In fact, I've been tempted to get both of those, and I'm not saying I never will, but I do enjoy showing you guys other ways to make beautiful home decor, even if you don't have any of those tools, or maybe you're just not looking to invest in something like that. Stencils are a great option. So look around. I know sometimes Dollar Tree can be hit or miss what you can find. You can also find them on their website, and you can find them at Walmart. Well, yes, you can find them at Walmart. I don't think I've ever bought this kind of stencil at Walmart though. But also, as I showed you before, great ones from Hobby Lobby. So I'm just stenciling this across. I'm using white. I know black and white isn't maybe super fall colors, but you know, you change it up to whatever colors you want, but this is what I went for this particular DIY. Before it is all dry, once you're all done getting the paint on, just peel that up, and really it does a beautiful job. Here you can see it's like sticking. You're like, is this gonna rip? It doesn't. It's amazing. So I love this piece. I did get a little bit of white paint over the edge in a couple spots, and I just touched it up with a tiny paintbrush with more of that black paint. And I do encourage you, a simple thing like small paintbrush goes a long way in crafting. So they're not expensive. You can get a pack at Walmart of a variety. Very, very helpful to have on hand. All right, we're just gonna put some hot glue, a whole bunch of it, on this sign, and then we're going to put a little black and white checkered bow. I think this was just in my stash from something, I pulled it off of something in the past. And just gonna put that on the top. That will also cover up the hole that was there. And then I have these buttons from the Dollar Tree. I actually found them in the checkout line. I'm not really sure why. And I just used what I had near me. I used one of these little clamps to hold onto the button so I didn't get any hot glue on my finger. Tweezers would have been helpful, but the clamp was closer. And I could probably take off the twine hanger here because obviously I'm not going to be hanging this because it's going in the wrong direction. But that is all I did for this. Popped it back from the frame. Let me know what you guys think about this one. Do you shop Dollar General clearance for items to craft with? If not, I highly recommend it because if you're not, you are missing out. Another super quick DIY. These wood pumpkins I got from Hobby Lobby, a 12 pack for $1.99, but it was 40 to 50% off probably when I bought these. Great deal, and they do not have the little holes in them like the ones from the Dollar Tree. So don't be afraid to check out Hobby Lobby. This one, barely a DIY, guys. I took another one of those little stencils from the Dollar Tree, and see, look, I'm pulling that off and putting it back on. I can't believe I didn't wreck the stencil, but I didn't. They're surprisingly sturdy. And I am just stenciling on with some Waverly chalk paint and the color pumpkin. That stencil brush, by the way, is from the Dollar Tree, and I really, really like it. Cover up the edges so that you don't get paint where you don't want it. This paper method is just easier than using a bunch of painter's tape, I guess. I did not paint or stain the pumpkin as you saw. I just used the raw wood and stenciled it, and that is it. Now I did hot glue a little tumbling tower block on the back so that it would stand up, and I apparently didn't film that. So here it is, all finished. It stands up on its own. Great addition for a tiered tray. This was another sign that I got from the Dollar General. You can see it was listed for $1. I paid no more than 50 cents for it. We are going to, I think I'm using the back on this one, or I've shown you how to take the paper off the front, and we are going to give this a coat of white paint. For this project, I didn't want to get any paint on the edges, so I'm trying to be careful here so that the edge will just have that brown MDF color. I like that look sometimes. So sometimes I take the time to keep the paint off the edge. If you do get paint there, usually you can go over it once it's dry with a little sandpaper and clean it up. Now I know this video is a little word heavy in the decor department here, but most of the time you guys aren't going to be making all of these. You're just going to make one or two, and so I do try to keep my word signs to a minimum so that there's not words on every single item, but I'm using a lot of stencils here, so we're going to get a lot of words. I'm using another stencil from the Dollar Tree, and we're going to just go with that white and orange theme. When you're doing a seasonal or a themed DIYs, you're going to see a lot of repetitiveness with our color schemes, but I love Pumpkin by Waverly. And the other thing is I want to use the colors I already have, and it's a great color, and I pretty much only use it in the fall time, so we're going to use it. Now these little wood trucks, these are from Hobby Lobby, and they are adorable. They come in a large pack, a small pack, but there's many of them in there, and I don't remember how much they were, but very, very reasonable. And I'm just going to put some hot glue on that, and we are going to attach this truck full of pumpkins to the bottom of our pumpkin patch sign. I think it is adorable, and I love the little maroon in it as well. Very simple. Once again, not every DIY has to have a lot of bells and whistles. Some things can be simple, some things can be embellished a little bit more. Let me know what you guys think about this one down below. This little chalkboard easel, I'm not sure where I got this from. It might be Dollar Tree. It seems like something from Dollar Tree, but I'm honestly not sure. But I'm going to take the Antique Wax by Waverly, and we are going to just stain the wood frame here. I am just going in and brushing it on with a paintbrush and wiping it off. And here I go again with my paper. I wanted to do the inside of the frame as well and keep that off of the chalkboard backing. And so I'm just using the paper to protect that surface. And then one more of those sticky stencils from the Dollar Tree, and we're gonna go ahead and stencil this with white. If you really press down on these self-adhesive stencils, they really do work well. I don't have any bleed through with them. Now I know the sign here said that autumn is my favorite color, and there's not a lot of color, so we're gonna use these paper leaves from Hobby Lobby. I got them on clearance after season. I think I paid 29 cents for them. And we're just going to arrange a few of them at the top of the sign and hot glue them down. And there is our autumn color, which I will say I do love the color of fall. I am originally from upstate New York, and I'll tell you what, the colors of fall, if you live in a place that gets all of those colors, is really breathtaking, a sight to behold. My neighbors growing up had a giant tree. I don't know what kind of tree it was, but it turned the most vibrant, beautiful red. It was amazing. Anyways, that is it for this DIY. Let me know what you guys think about it. If you made it to the end of the video, please leave me a leaf emoji down in the comments so that I know you're here all the way till the end. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure that you subscribe if you are new, if you have not already done that, so you don't miss out on my future videos. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Very simple way to help me out. Thank you guys for being here, and I'll see you the next one. Bye.